Does anybody need a note sheet? Okay. So who in here has done matrices before? Okay. So a matrix, okay, is a rectangular array of variables and constants in horizontal rows. So basically, it's another way that we can write the systems of equations. So the ones that you just did on your projects, you can write them as a matrix. And sometimes it's easier to work with a matrix than it is with the system. And so they're enclosed by brackets. And you can see that in examples, the examples below, those are forms of a matrix. Okay, plural is matrices, so if we're talking about more than one matrix, it would be matrices. An entry or an element is each number that's in a matrix. Each number that's in a matrix. So each one is called an entry or an element. The way that we name a matrix is typically by a letter, but we can also say that it has a size. And it's the number of rows times the number of columns. So rows are over here on the left-hand side, and then columns go straight up and down. So how many rows are here? 2, right? How many columns? So we call that a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, and the second one, how many rows do I have? 3, and how many columns? 3, so it's a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, how many rows are in matrix C? 2 rows. Okay, so we do rows here first, and then there's 3 columns, so that would be a 2 by 3 matrix. Questions so far? Okay. So a square matrix, obviously a square has the same measurements on both sides. So a square matrix is a matrix that has the same number of rows and the same number of columns. So for example, if we look back, okay, A and B, matrix A and matrix B, those would be examples of a square matrix. And then an augmented matrix. That is the matrix that's used to represent a system of equations. So we're going to look really closely at that example below. Okay, so you just got to focus in here. If you look at this system of equations, we have 3, 5, what number would be in front of C? -1. Yeah? Okay, so 3, 5, -1, and 7. Look at that, 3, 5, -1, 7. So all you're doing when you write a matrix is you're taking the number or the coefficient that is in front of the variable, and you're just writing those numbers. So here, we have 2 for x, 2 for x. Now you'll see that we're missing a y over here. That's where we fill in 0. Okay, 3 for z, -2 is the constant. You tracking with me on that? Okay, so you're just transferring those numbers. So when writing an augmented matrix of a system, the variables of each equation must be on the left side. Okay, so right here, if you see this line, that line basically represents our equal sign. So the augmented matrix is only the numbers on the left, the ones that are in front of a variable. Okay, if the variable's not up here, we use a coefficient of 0, which we saw in that second line. Questions for me? All right, a coefficient matrix is a matrix that's made up of the coefficients of the variables. So that's where I was talking about that left-hand side of the matrix. Okay, and then right here, this main diagonal, that's these numbers right here, the 3, the 0, and the -2. Okay, the main diagonal is diagonal elements of the coefficient matrix. So when I'm talking about coefficient matrix, okay, here's my regular augmented matrix. I'm talking only about this section. Okay, that is the augmented matrix part. Doesn't include the equal to over here. So if you want to make a little note of that, that the augmented is just that left-hand side, you can. Okay, so we're going to just practice writing the augmented matrix. Hopefully this should be pretty easy for you. Okay, so go ahead and draw your matrix. You're going to put the line in there that represents your equal sign. What number's in front of X in that first line? 1. So we're going to fill in 1. In front of Y is -5. So we put a -5. Okay, and then on the very right of the equal sign is also -5. Go ahead and do the second row by yourself. You should have -4, -2, and 20. Yes? We doing okay? All right, our next one, I'm guessing you're already working on it. We get -1, 5, and 2, and then 1, -2, and -2. What is the size of the matrix in number 1, number 2? 2 by 3 matrix. Okay, 2 rows, 3 columns. We're going to go a little bigger on numbers 3 and 4. Remember, be very careful when you're doing this. You may be missing a variable. So in line 1 for number 3, we have -4 in front of X, but there's no Y. So since there's no Y, we fill in a 0. And then -6 for Z, and -12 on the other side of that equal sign. So be careful on those. I know a lot of y'all are just had your heads down working, that's fine. Make sure you check them up here, because I want to make sure you're getting those zeros in. Okay, go ahead and check those when you get those done. Any issues or questions for me? Alright, get us into a sort of Okay, let's keep moving. Alright, so the determinant. This is kind of a feature of an element, of a matrix, and we use the elements to do that. So the determinant is a quantity that we obtain. So when we say quantity, it's a number. So it's just going to be a number by itself that we obtain by the addition of products of the elements of a square matrix. So if we write determinant, okay, we can write DET for determinant. Okay, we can write DETA. So like, for example, if it's matrix A, you would write DETA, meaning you're giving me the determinant of matrix A. Or you can write it with a double, with a bar, almost kind of like a, what do you call those? Absolute value symbol, okay? Kind of like the same thing as an absolute value symbol. That's another form for a determinant. Go ahead and get your calculators out, okay, because we're going to need those here in a second. should not be here. Okay, just go ahead and cross that out. I don't know what's going on. We already gave the definition. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. So when we're finding the determinant, you're going to take AD. Okay, so if you look at that, it's diagonal. So AD minus BC. So when I say AD, that means I'm going to multiply the numbers that are in the AD spot and subtract them from the multiplication of BC. And that's going to be your formula every single time. You're going to be doing the same thing. Okay, so let's take a look at this first one. Okay, I'm going to write the whole thing out. I know you'll probably get fast at these. So we're going to do -4 times 3 minus 2 times -5. So here we have -12 minus a -10. What happens when you double negatives like that? Yeah, it's going to become addition. So our determinant is -2. Okay, and the determinant, we'll use that in the future. This is our first notes on matrices. So that determinant skill, we'll come back to that, but I just want to get to how to find it first. Okay, so on this next one, we'll do 6 times 3 minus 4 times -1. So we'll end up with 18 plus 4, because double negatives on that. So we get 22 for the determinant. Okay. Technically, if we want to do this correct, we would put D equals, okay, or you could do DET equals, whatever you want to do. I thought it was just D equals. I know what you mean when you say D equals. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do it in the graphic calculator. Raise your hand if you have a TI-83 or a TI-84. Okay, does anybody have the Inspire? Okay, so I'm going to do TI-83, TI-84 first, and then we'll do the Inspire. Okay, it's really an easy process. Okay, so if you are on the TI-83, 84, here's your step. We're going to write these down, so I want you to have these recorded. No, actually, let's do this. Okay, that'll work. Okay, so for TI-83, TI-84, okay, the first thing you're going to do is you are going to press second, and then this x to the -1. Okay, that's the inverse of x. If you see, it says matrix right above it, so press that button there. Okay, and what you have to do is you have to enter the matrix. So you're going to go over to edit. Oops. You're going to go over to edit. Okay, so let's say we're going to do it 2 by 2. Okay, where you're at with A, you're going to press enter. Maybe. Okay, you're going to press enter. It's going to ask you, what's the size of your matrix? So you'll type in 2 by 2. And then it should give you slots to fill that in. Are we doing okay? Do you need to go back? Okay, so let's just all do the same matrix. Where are all my markers? Okay. That's really strange. Same matrix. Let's just do, I'll make one up here, just so we're all getting the same determinant. All right, 2, -3, 4, 5. So go ahead and put those numbers in your matrix. I think you have to press enter on the ABC. 8384 for it to move spaces. Okay, so now we have the matrix entered, and now we want to find the determinant of that matrix. So again, we're going to press the second and then X inverse key. This time you're going to go to math. So go over just one slide. Do you see what you think would be the determinant? Which one? Number 1. Take DET. So you're going to press enter. Oh. Okay. If that did the same thing, press second quick. You have to be on your normal screen. I apologize. So press second, X1, math, and then determinant. It should show up like this. So you put a little. Okay, second, put our second mode. Then we can do our inverse. All right, last step. Okay, it's saying, what matrix do you want to use? Well, of course, we'll use the matrix that we just entered. So we're going to press the second, X1, and then it's already on A. If you needed to choose B or C or whatever, you would just use your up and down arrow, but you're just going to choose A and press enter. And that's what that should look like. Press enter again, it'll calculate the determinant for you. And it should be 22. Those should be the steps for the 83, 84. All right, my Inspire friends. Let's see if I can locate my Inspire calculator. I think I do have one. Aha! That's what we want. Okay, I actually think it might be kind of easier on the Inspire because there's not as many like back and forths. Oh, 40. I don't have a license number. Okay, that's fine. There's a good video that we can do. I got it. Okay, this one's a 3x3, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter.
With this one, we're going to use the GI Inspire, and we can do this one by hand, but it's much easier if we can just plug it into our calculator. So let me pull up our calculator here.
Okay, so make sure
in our calculator, we're going.
Make sure you're like on like a calculation screen where you can like enter like 2 plus 2. Okay.
To enter in this exact matrix into our calculator. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a great setting where I can display the calculator and the problem at the same time, so I'm going to do the best I can here. There we go, somewhere close there. Okay, what we're looking for is we need to create this matrix, and the matrix button, it's right next, right here you have this book one right here, the one next to it is your matrix button. So we're going to go to that one, we're going to pull it up, and it gives you, you can do fractions.
Anybody not find it? It's an Inspire correct?
Okay, where is it?
It's right next to the 9.
It's the book. The one next to the book.
Yeah, the one next to the book.
Okay, the one.
You good? Are you in Inspire? You got it? Okay, cool. Right, let's take a look.
This is where you put in all of your logs. You've done those before.
Choose the
You look down here and you see these matrices here, these options. This one's a 3x3, which is nice. That's what this one was. So if you have a different form, this will allow you to change it as well. So you want to select this one, okay? So that's the one that I have there, so I'm just going to hit enter. And then the last number of rows and columns. This one is a 3x3, so I'm okay. If you need to change it, then change it, go up or down here, depending on which one you have. When you're done, hit OK. It creates a 3x3 matrix. Now what I'm going to do is input in each one of these numbers into their correct location. So the first one is a 2. And the way that we move throughout a matrix here on the calculator is just by hitting the tab button. Every time you type in a number, just hit tab. And I'm just filling all of this information in right now.
I gave Inspired Friend having an issue with that. Okay. Inspire has a lot more buttons, but I think once you get it down, it's nice. It works pretty well.
Okay, well, check to make sure that I entered all those in correctly. I did, I'm okay. Okay, so now we have our matrix. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. That way we can try to have a little bit better view on what we're doing here. Okay, so I've got my matrix here, and we're looking to find the determinant on this one. And when we're finding the determinant, the way that we'll do that into our calculator is it's got a shortcut. It's called DET for determinant. So right before this matrix, we're going to write DET. So we use our little pad here. Notice how these are italicized, meaning it doesn't understand what we're wanting. And as soon as we hit the T, then it becomes straight up and down, not italicized, meaning it understands sort of its pre-programmed functions on this calculator. Now, if you hit enter right here, it's going to say that we're missing a parenthesis. So you just hit OK. So you're going to go over here, right after the T, right in between the T and the matrix, we're going to add a parenthesis. And the T Inspire is nice because as soon as you add the first one, it will add your last one. Then you just hit enter. And it says the determinant on this one was 17. So we go back here, and then our answer for this one will simply be 17. But this one we're going to use the TI Inspire, and we can do this one by hand, but it's much easier.
Any issues? Did that work for you guys? Did you get 22? Maybe you did the 2x2? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think it's actually pretty nice. There is like a whole, like, you can hit menu and go to matrix, which I think is number 7, and then you can choose determinant. So if you forget that you can type it in, it is under menu, but it's nice to be able to just do DET. Okay. There are practice problems attached to the back. So the front is writing that augmented matrix, and then the back is practicing your determinant. The only thing, I think, with writing the augmented, I'm not too worried about that. The issue there is making sure you put 0 in for those missing variables. And then obviously, don't do your calculator on the determinant for all of them. It's a great way to check your answer. Okay, so I want you to know how to find it by hand, but you can check it with your calculator. Okay. I think that's all we have for today. Oh, we didn't write down our steps. Probably should have done our steps. I will do that for you. For the Inspire.
It's only one button.
Yeah. Okay.